Hello everyone, this is Brainlessmedico and I am Dr. Manoj, and today we are going to learn an important topic in physiology, that is micturition. So let's dig into it. So before going to micturition, let's learn a basic anatomy of a bladder. So when you look into a bladder, you are going to see a trigone which is in a triangular shape where there are ureteric orifices presented above the triangular shape. Then we have detrusor muscle. Then we have internal urethral sphincter, then bladder neck, then urethra, then external urethral sphincter. Okay. So we are going to remember three important things in this anatomy, that is detrusor muscle, IUS and EUS. Okay. These are the important things that are going to help you in the following session. So the main important thing you need to remember, innervations. So we have three innervations, which is parasympathetic, sensory and sympathetic. Let's make it simple. There are like lines together in the textbooks. Let's make it in a single line so that in the exam you are going to write whatever is necessary. So the parasympathetic nerve is going to supply posterior urethra, then sensory is going to supply detrusor muscle, then as I said, internal urethral sphincter, then sympathetic is going to supply external urethral sphincter. So what are the nerves which act as parasympathetic, sensory or sympathetic? So pelvic nerve will be acting as parasympathetic and sensory both, and sympathetic will be acting by pudendal nerve. Okay, I hope this is clear. This is the important part. Then we'll look in bit detail. So micturition reflex, it is a 5 marker for first year students in physiology, and even it is important for NEET PG students. So let's look into it. Micturition reflex. So what happens actually in the micturition is increase stretch of bladder and urine at posterior urethra will happen, which will trigger the pelvic nerve. Then it goes, the signal goes to spinal cord. Then something reaches spinal cord, then it has to reach the center where it is controlled. So the center relies in cerebral cortex and pontine center. Okay, these two will be signaled, then there will be efferent signal. So again it will come to spinal cord. Then these two acts on sensory, sympathetic and parasympathetic. So pelvic nerve will be triggering contraction of detrusor muscle, then relaxation of internal urethral sphincter, whereas pudendal nerve will supply external urethral sphincter. So what happens? Let's make a simple diagram. See, this is a bladder where urine is full. So it has to be released. So what happens? External urethral sphincter has to be relaxed. Then contraction happens in the detrusor muscle, and internal urethral sphincter will be opened so that urine comes out. Okay, this is the main fund of micturition reflex. Then coming to cystometrogram, you have to remember 3 points here. Okay, nothing more, just 3 points. Even for the first year, just remember this graph, draw it however you want. You need to mention these 3 points. So from 0 to 150, it is A, where sense of micturition will be felt. Okay, then B to C, sense of fullness will be felt. It's 300 ml. Sense of pain will be felt above the B. Okay, it will be around 500 ml. So I'll repeat again. Sense of micturition will be felt at 150 ml of the bladder volume. Sense of fullness will be felt at the 300 ml of bladder volume. Sense of pain will be felt at 500 ml of bladder volume. Okay, this much you need to remember in this cystometrogram. Okay. Then coming to applied aspect, we have only three conditions you need to remember. Let's make it simple. So atonic bladder with incontinence. What does it means? If afferent will be affected. So what happens? Afferent defect leads to overflow incontinence. Tabes dorsalis, you'll learn this in medicine and even in neurology or neuroanatomy. Basically, it is infected by syphilis. Okay. Then coming to the second one, autonomic bladder, where spinal shock will be there. Main thing you need to remember here is it's not at the exact level of sacral, but damage above sacral segment, and it leads to periodic involuntary bladder contraction. Then the last one, uninhibited neurogenic bladder. What happens if sensory is affected, the actual site is affected, above the site is affected, then there should be something affecting the efferent, right? So this is the third condition where efferent will be affected. So what happens? Selective loss of inhibition influence from center. What happens? Like signals will be reaching they will be center will be sending the signals, but it is not reaching the actual site. So from center there will be no response. Involuntary bladder contraction even from small bladder volume. Let's revise. We discussed about anatomy. I hope that is clear. Then in innervations, we have three innervations: parasympathetic, sensory, and sympathetic. Mainly, we need to remember pelvic nerve and pudendal nerve. Then coming to micturition reflex, increased stretch of bladder happens, which leads to signal, sensory signal. Afferent will be pelvic nerve. Then center, it sends the back signal, and efferent will be pelvic nerve or pudendal nerve, where two different functions will be happening, where contraction and relaxation of IUS and EUS will be relaxed. So then what happens? Histogram we saw 150, 300, 500. Then applied aspect, we saw three condition: atonic bladder with incontinence, automatic bladder, then uninhibited neurogenic bladder. So it was a lengthy, but I feel it is worthy. So don't skip it. It is easy. Just go through the video again if you are having any doubt. Hope you people enjoyed. Thank you.